Today, we are talking about grieving our past because grief isn't just about death. Sometimes we grieve parts of our own story. We grieve our past identities or younger versions of ourselves that we've outgrown, or perhaps we were forced to outgrow before we were ready. What we want you to get out of this episode is a better understanding of that invisible grief that comes along with moving forward in life, and why letting go is such a sacred yet necessary part of growth. Grief is the emotional process of letting go of something meaningful, whether it's a person, a place, or even a version of yourself. Grief is one of those heavy emotions, along with shame, but we talk about shame quite a bit here, but not so much about grief. Most people think that grief only shows up around death and dying, but there are so many other forms of grief that are not talked about enough. Today is all about grieving your past. And this is the kind of grief that doesn't come with funerals or tangible goodbyes. This is a kind of quiet grief, is how I would best describe it. For me, it often shows up as nostalgia, longing, or some kind of ache that I can't quite name. Maybe you long for a younger version of yourself who had more time, more energy, more optimism for the future.
Mm.
Perhaps you miss a version of yourself that you felt was hotter and more successful and more desirable, more lovable, perhaps. Or maybe you just feel nostalgic for a time in your life when things just felt easier. I think a lot of people have that feeling these days. Or maybe you silently grieve a dream that you really thought would come true, but as time goes on, that dream starts to slip away. Sometimes grieving your past is actually about a role that you've played. Maybe you're a father or a husband or a caretaker of some kind, or maybe even in a professional role. You know, people who retire have to grieve the loss of that role they played. That's another way we can grieve the past. Grieving your past could also be grieving a certain era in your life, a relationship, a city you lived in, a home you lived in, a career that you've dedicated a life to. So there's lots of ways we can grieve our past. Okay. Sometimes we choose to leave these relationships, roles, identities, or sometimes we just slowly age out of them. Either way, that goodbye is never easy, and that goodbye is worthy of grieving. It's worthy of our time and energy to grieve. And it comes with this quiet grief that I don't think we don't acknowledge as grief. A lot of us don't. So that's what we're talking about today, because life doesn't stop for anybody. It requires us to enter new chapters and new eras, and that often comes with leaving something behind. And that something is often beautiful and hard to let go of. By the way, I want to say this as a caveat. Grief does not mean that we're staying stuck in the past. It means we're honoring it.